Lesson 11. To learn to be centered in the self without being self-centered. But in the last lesson I said something that I ought to correct first, and that is, I spoke of Einstein's theory of creativity. Of course I was talking about relativity. And that ties in also with what we're talking about. That many people, when they make a mistake, get all flustered and think, my God, people must think I'm an idiot. Well, maybe one thing that would help you is to just assume that if you are an idiot and they find out about it, what does it matter? But the truth of it is that if you have enough centeredness in yourself, you won't worry about what other people think. Be centered where you are. You will find that successful people always have that centeredness. You can't shake them. They don't get nervous because this is where their reality is. It's not out there. It's not where people think. You know the story, it's a very well-known story, I believe Aesop told it for the first time that we know of at least, where a man, a boy, and a donkey were going to market. The idea was to sell the donkey. And so they wanted to keep the donkey in good shape so it would look as good as possible to get a high price. And so the man and the boy walked, and the donkey walked. And they passed a group of people, and they heard these people saying among themselves, what an absurd thing. They have a perfectly good donkey to ride, and they're letting it walk. What fools! Walk all without them. And so the man thought, well, that's right. So he got on the donkey. And they passed another group of people, and they said, look at that man. Strong, vigorous, his poor little boy has to walk, and he's riding a donkey like a lord. What inconsiderateness, what cruelty. And the man thought, well, I don't want to be considered cruel. And so he got down and put his boy on the donkey. And they walked a little bit further, and suddenly they heard another group passing and saying, look at that scene, that young, fresh body riding on the donkey while his poor old father has to walk. And the man thought, well, this is getting a bit absurd, but he thought, okay, so they both got on the donkey. And they passed another group, and they said, look at the cruelty, 2 people on the back of that poor donkey. And he was so furious at that point that they were crossing a bridge, crossing a river on a bridge, and they just pushed the donkey in the river and walked home. Well, the thing is that if you try to have your realities outside, for example, in the opinions of others, people live too much in the opinions of other people. They live vicariously. Be strong in yourself. You will notice that every person who has real magnetism, every person who has real strength, every person who's really successful, every person who's a really good leader, this is probably the one thing that you'll always see, that they're centered in themselves. They're not out here. They're here. Everything that they do proceeds outward from that center instead of being imposed on them from without. So if you want to be a magnetic leader, learn to live at your own center. Not to be self-centered, that's another subject, we'll cover that another time. But to live at your own center and let everything that you do proceed from that center. Now where is that center? Well, it's the spine. The more you can learn to live in your spine, the more you will find that you can accomplish well whatever it is that you need to do. I was on the ski slopes a few years ago, and I saw a lady who couldn't turn. Every time, her only way to get down the hill was to ski diagonally across the hill, fall down at the other side, get up, put her skis on, ski diagonally across it, fall on the other side, get up, put her skis on, and so on down the hill. And I watched her do this, and I thought, well, I'd like to help that poor lady, because what I could see was that she couldn't understand turning except from outside in. And so a turn, if she'd ever had it explained to her, and she probably had, was something where you put your elbow out here and your hip out here and your weight on the downhill ski, and you put your other foot out to a certain angle. And it was so many things to remember and so many things to master, sort of from the outside in to where she was, that she would have just fallen over every time she tried it. I said, try one little thing. I found it helps. Just feel as if your center were in your spine. And every move that you make, let it come outward from that center. So that when you need to turn, feel that you need to turn, think yourself turning, and then from that thought, let the body flow automatically into that turn. And I met her the next time that we happened to meet at the top of the hill, and her eyes were shining with enthusiasm. She said, "You know, it works." Well, this happens in everything that you do in life, that if you can keep yourself centered at your own center, everything that you do will work in a harmonious way. I remember a group of men that I met in India many years ago. I was there, and I wanted to get instruction for how to get somewhere. Well, there were two Americans who were trying to be good Joes and trying to win the people in this foreign country by being charming, according to their sort of bouncy way. And the Indian was a very peaceful kind of person. So anyway, as I approached the group, these three were talking among themselves, and I said, "I wonder if you could help me." Well, the two Americans sort of, "Yeah, what do you want?" Sort of turning their flashing smile like this, and all of their energy was outside. And the Indian said, "Yes, what is it you would like?" You could see he was completely centered. He was in control of the situation, and they were dancing attendance on that. When you want to be in control of a situation, you've got to be in control of yourself. And to be in control of yourself means to be centered in yourself. When you have that centeredness in yourself, everything will begin to rotate around you. Everything will work as it ought to work, but you will have the magnetism that will make it work according to how you should make it work. Each person has his own thing to do, but those people who will be drawn into your orbit, who will be inspired by what you're doing, who will feel to join you in what you're doing, those people, in other words, for whom you can be a leader, and there's no point in trying to be a leader to everybody, but those people who are in tune with your ideals, your ideas, those people will be influenced if you live at your center very calmly, because it's from this center that magnetism will come. So one thing that will help you is to always sit straight. Keep your spine straight. Live more at your center. And everything that you do, try to feel that you're doing it from that center. It would be good even to do certain gestures in your life when you're in your own bedroom, just sort of to emphasize this feeling that I'm moving outward from that center. You know, Frank Lloyd Wright designed a building 1 mile high, 5,000 feet high. And the way that he was able to do it, at least in design, they built buildings like this but not that high yet, was to have a stem at the center like a tree. Instead of holding the building together by the walls, the outer walls, have that stem there, and everything would sort of relaxedly be appended from that stem. Well, let your body and your consciousness be the same. From your stem, let everything be hung, let everything manifest itself. You will see that in this, you will have that degree of centeredness, you will be able to generate that kind of magnetic field, because it's as that consciousness and energy can flow through your own center that also this electromagnetic field or aura or whatever you want to call it will be able to become really strong.